A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, many of you, if not everyone here, has heard or read these words as they scroll across the screen at the beginning of every Star Wars franchise film. What many of you may or may not know is that this faraway galaxy was developed from ideas that come from religious fundamentals. On this journey, we will talk about the religious ideas behind the movies, how these religious ideas are affecting people, and what lies in the future. The movie Star Wars dates its beginning to the early 1970s, when George Lucas, a Methodist, a graduate from University of Southern California, and winner of the National Student Film Festival of 67-68, began writing the script. Originally, in 1971, Star Wars was a part of a two-picture contract under Universal Studios with the film American Graffiti. In 1973, it was known from George Lucas's film summary as The Journal of the Whills. Lucas's later rough draft screenplay, renamed as The Star Wars, was a space adventure and loose remake of Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress. In 1974, the second rough draft screenplay was completed, known as The Adventures of Anakin Starkiller, taken from The Journal of the Whills, Saga 1, The Star Wars. The final production, known to most as Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, which was released in May of 1977, combined Lucas's original idea with the ideas from the book The Hero with a Thousand Faces and Masks of God by Joseph Campbell, an anthropologist, American mythology professor, and orator of comparative mythology and comparative religion. George Lucas never met Joseph Campbell until the completion of the original trilogy in 1983. After 1983, Lucas began to meet with Campbell and attend his lectures. In Joseph Campbell's biography, Joseph Campbell, A Fire in the Mind, by Stephen and Robin Larson, George Lucas discusses Joseph Campbell's influence, stating, "I came to the conclusion, after American Graffiti, that what's valuable for me is to set standards, not to show people the world the way it is. Around the period of this realization, it came to me that there really was no modern use of mythology. The Western was possibly the last generically American fairy tale, telling us about our values. And once the Western disappeared, nothing has ever taken its place. In literature, we were going off into science fiction. So that's when I started doing more strenuous research on fairy tales, folklore, and mythology, and I started reading Joe's books. Before that, I hadn't read any of Joe's books. It was very eerie because in reading The Hero with a Thousand Faces, I began to realize that my first draft of Star Wars was following classic motifs. So I modified my next draft of Star Wars according to what I'd been learning about classical motifs and made it a little more consistent. I went on to read The Masks of God and many other books. Joseph Campbell's influence on the Star Wars franchise was so great that George Lucas stated at an award ceremony in 1985, "It is possible that if I hadn't run across him, I'd still be writing Star Wars today." Although George Lucas, with the help from Joseph Campbell's ideas, wrote and directed Star Wars, it would not have been successful without the viewers. Why do so many people watch and buy into this fictional story? Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, was released on the 25th of May, 1977. This was the same week the movie Smokey and the Bandit, featuring Burt Reynolds, was released. In the first week, Star Wars made twice as much, grossing at $1,554,475. Its total U.S. gross earnings were $460,998,007, with worldwide earnings of $797,900,000.
This is nearly 73 times the cost of the picture. Each movie is listed on the 50 highest grossing films of all time, not counting home video releases, and it falls third in the highest series earning movies next to Harry Potter and James Bond. The story has been told in 19 different languages around the world, to include Japanese, German, Russian, Swedish, Turkish, French, and Spanish. It has been viewed by Christians, Muslims, Jewish, Buddhists, Taoists, and Hindus. The franchise has grown considerably to include the Star Wars Expanded Universe, containing 7 series and short stories of 6 eras in the galaxy far, far away. Games, role-playing games, collector's cards, video games, comic books, and cartoons have also been released under the franchise of Star Wars. Mentoring, faith, sacrifice, belief, good, evil, history, and mythology are all elements found in many religions. In the Star Wars saga, there are many religious parallels. Many of the names found in the saga can be or are related to names found in religions throughout the world. The hero of the saga was Luke Skywalker. Luke's name is often thought to have come from St. Luke the Apostle, writer of the third Gospel and Acts of the Apostles, although George Lucas disputes this, saying that it was short for his last name. Luke, the Apostle, converted from ignorance to his belief in God, much as Luke Skywalker converts from ignorance to the Force. Luke could also be a derivative of the Greek word lukos, meaning white or bright. Skywalker, or one who walks with or on the sky, may be from the idea that the sky, as it is referred to as a heaven, and then a Skywalker would be a walker amongst the heavens. Skywalker was one of the nicknames of the Norse god Loki. Loki comes from the Indo-European root Luk. Skywalker is also a term for a tantric master in Tibet, transliterated from Mikha Skroba in the Tibetan language, and the Kagras in Sanskrit. The name Anakin may stem from the Old Testament word Anakim, which were a branch of the Titanic race Ephraim, and may refer to Anakin's or Darth Vader's great height. Anakin may also be from the English roots an for opposite or backward, and akin for ancestor. Darth Vader, the name after his rebirth as a Sith Lord, stems from the two words Darth and Vader. Darth is often believed to be associated with the Dutch or German word for dark, but Darth is not a word in German or Dutch. According to George Lucas, Darth is a title much like Knight or Lord. Some believe the word comes from the combination of letters from the phrase Dark Lord of the Sith. Some suggest it comes from the Hebrew word Diath, meaning knowledge not attainable by the masses. Vader is a Dutch word for father, but not pronounced the same. Vater, pronounced like in the movie, is the German word for father. Together, Darth Vader could mean the father of unattainable knowledge. The serpent in the story of creation could also be paralleled as the father of unattainable knowledge. Darth Vader in the Star Wars movies and the expanded